We're here. We're here. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Uplift Lifestyle Podcast, to the YouTube channel, wherever you are catching us from. It is so good to be spending this 45-ish minutes together. So I'm sitting here with Cailin from Womb Consciousness. I'm so excited for what we're going to bring to you today. There's going to be a little behind the scenes catch up. We always mastermind together. So you guys are going to get like a front row VIP seat to what that looks and feels like. A little bit of coaching, a little bit of just sharing it all behind the scenes. And you can start to find little threads that would match your life and your lifestyle, where you can be like, ooh, I can see how I can implement this right now. So that's going to be super valuable. And we're going to be talking a lot about connecting to your own intuition through your womb, which is something that Cailin specializes in. And it's just such an honor to have you here, Cailin. Can you say hello to our community, and can you share a little bit about who you are and what womb consciousness is?
Yeah. Hi, Haley. Thank you so much for having me here. This has been a long time coming in some ways. It was a year ago, almost a year ago, that you first had me on your podcast, just based on a little snippet of a recording that of a conversation we had. So honestly, it feels so full circle to be sitting here with you now. And yeah, I'm very grateful. And yeah, so over the last many years, there's so much I could share about my journey that got me to this point. But I am currently working with women to really align them back with their power and with their inner knowing. And I work through the womb. So I go through the portal that is the womb. And so I've received some shamanic training and teachings in that realm. And honestly, I've just been a devotee and a student of energy work and different somatic practices and just following my inquiry for years. It's kind of like since I've been a child, these are things that have been with me. And then in the last few years, really sought out teachers and teachings and have this kind of robust, well experienced realm of access that I'm now familiar with, and I like to share that with others. So I've really just begun doing that in some ways over the last year of my life, which has been, yeah, a really interesting process for me. I've done a major career shift. I've been opening up portals in my own life in so many other areas as well. So I feel really equipped to support other people in going back to that source of what it is that is truest for us, and then letting life kind of let us take us where we need to go. Yeah.
I love that. I can feel it. And I think that everyone listening can feel it. So
Mhm,
before we move forward and share a little bit about like who we are and how we know each other and why we're here, I
mhm.
would love everyone listening to just close your eyes for a moment. I'd love you to close your eyes, Cailin. I'm going to close my eyes. And for this sacredness of this is my first podcast episode of 2025. This is a really sacred relationship that Cailin and I share. It's sacred that you are here with us. I'd love us to just connect to the vision, the visualization, the union of all of us together. Imagine we're in a circle. Imagine we're holding hands or hugging or looking into one another's eyes. Oh, let's just breathe in the goodness that is here for us today. Ooh, all the information, insights, and integrations that are available through this conversation, through the wisdom of what Cailin will be sharing about womb consciousness, and through our behind the scenes conversations. You are not separate from us. We are one and we are here together. This wisdom is your wisdom. So let's welcome it and luxuriate in it. Big inhale, breathe it in, hold it, and let go. Oh, it's so good. And we can open our eyes now. And if you're driving and you close your eyes for that, you're wild. You're wild. I usually give a little warning, like if you're driving, don't do that. Whatever. I trust you know yourself. Okay, so thank you, Cailin, for sharing that. That was so beautiful. Just getting a little understanding. And as someone who's had, speaking of behind the scenes, I've had a behind the scenes life with you, and I've got to see you grow and evolve. And I've seen you be someone that is extremely inspiring in your ability to just pave your own path, blaze your own trail, and do it with love, do it with lightness, do it with joy, do it with this youthful curiosity that I think so many of us lose touch with. And I just think it's your nature, it's all of our nature. And some people lose that. I feel like you've never lost that. I feel like you're just a curious little creature and you're traveling earth. Cailin travels the world. She's out west right now. So you're where exactly out west are you right now? Where are
So
you?
I'm actually in Vancouver. I'm in British Columbia. Yeah, I came out here 4 years ago, and Salt Spring Island is like a spirit home for me on the planet. But all around, like the wilds of BC, I'm in love. Like I came out here because I needed big nature. And yeah, and I'm still here, but honestly, things are evolving. The future is still unfolding. Like I'm very curious about where to be and where I'll end up. But I honestly like I appreciate what you share. I'm someone who definitely like follows threads.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
I follow my intuition, I follow my knowing, and I've lived this way for again most of my life. I get into like hairy patches every now and again of
Mhm.
thinking I should do something and then maybe, hunkering down into a task for longer than I should or something like that. But mostly I'm really in touch with my guidance. And so I go where I'm called to go. So I'm currently here in BC, but I also deeply love where we're from back in Ontario. And I spent 4 months spontaneously there this year. I was there for like this full seasonal shift from summer all the way. It was a blizzard when I left. And again, none of that was planned, but once I got home, I realized, oh, this is where I need to be right now. This is where the magic is, and time with my family, and healing time, and sweet time, and gentle time in nature there as well. So, yeah, I do travel. I travel this world.
I love it. And many of you who are very like immersed in my world, watching my Instagram stories, connected, going through every carousel, you guys know I share a lot of my life behind the scenes. You may have seen Cailin before. We had some beautiful cottage time. We had some fun time at TIFF. Cailin is
Yes.
only a healer and an intuitive worker. She's also an actress. So there's a whole like layer of multidimensionality that I think you embody so beautifully that, and I actually just shared an Instagram reel about this morning, just being like a soft squish, being a divine goddess, and being like a bad bitch all at once. And I'm certainly that. I know you're that. And I think that that's why you are so well positioned to support people in this really deep and intimate way through your work because you lived it and you live it and you're constantly embodying it. And for those of you who are very familiar with this type of spirituality or healing or even self-development, this sort of industry, you hear about, you hear all the time, learn from someone who's living it, learn from someone who's embodying it, learn from someone who's integrated it. And Cailin, you certainly have integrated it. I feel like you're always just deep in the work. We're always behind the scenes for the last many years. You and I will voice note back and forth, like sometimes it's like we're catching up every couple of months, other times it's like every single day, multiple times a day, and it's just like here's everything that's happening. And even from 2024 to now, seeing your evolution of like the California living, where it was like you were out west in the States, in California, really focusing on acting in that career and crushing it and being so embodied. And for anyone who understands embodiment, like being an actress is such a beautiful initiation into embodiment because you're surrendering to the service of the role, the service of the act that's going on. So you're doing it in that way. And then you're also traveling the world doing beautiful, the word's slipping me now, but when you went to that summit and you're sharing your womb work with the world, it's like you're doing it all at once. And I think it's really empowering and invitational for people. It's like this permission slip, like we can be it all at once. We can do it all at once. So we go back and forth all the time. I feel like it's a really good time for us to kind of do a little catch up right now. Now that everyone in the audience is like aware of who you are, if this is your first time hearing me, go check out all my stuff, dive in, luxuriate in that so you can catch a vibe of who I am. But now that everyone knows who we are and knows who you are, I think it'd be fun for us to sort of get into a little catch up. So talk to me about what a theme has been for you welcoming 2025. Like what is your theme right now? What's your vibe? Talk to me. Talk to
Oh,
us.
oh my gosh, Haley, I love it. Yeah, let's dive in. Let's share. Okay, so, and thank you for everything you said, by the way. So, oh my goodness, what is the theme that's most alive? Well, I have to say, I started the new year in an incredible way. I was at one of the things that's most important to me is creative expression. And I have to tell you, and anyone who's listening, if you have something that's the most important to you and you're not doing it, oh my gosh, it's time. It is your time to do it. Put it in your calendar. Do whatever it takes. Don't be afraid to like put a bit of structure around it so that you make sure it happens. So that's a little bit where I'm at. And my last year's journey in particular, as you spoke to, like me getting myself to LA to really move my acting career forward, like all of the steps that I've taken. But yeah, all to say that's a priority for me. And that includes acting, it includes singing, it includes dancing, it includes these things that have been a part of my life since I was a child. And yet I'm telling you, in a busy week, I'll have a couple plans to make sure I set time aside to do some of those things. And they're the ones that get pushed.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, no, we can't be doing that anymore. So this year, I really set out with a lot of focus around making sure that I prioritize those. And so I've been dancing a lot. I was literally at 2 raves last week. Okay. If you're watching my
Yes.
Instagram, some evidence of them on there. But like
Yeah.
I need to be moving my body. I need to be in the field of Eros. I
Yeah.
need to be alive. I need to be with other people. You and I had one great dance party this year during TIFF. Like I need to be with the people I love in free flow states. That is my happiest place. And so I've had a really sweet start to the year that we had a great New Year's event. And then the next morning, I woke up and I had this overwhelming, I mean, there's so many things I could talk about, but love is really important to me. Intimate love is really important to me. And I've gone on such a journey with that in my life. And I'm not with a partner right now. And I want one. I'm calling one in the right timing. And I was so full of love on New Year's Day that came from other sources. It came from previous relationships, and one previous relationship in particular, which really opened the door and created a whole new realm of understanding for me about what is the standard at which I want to be loved and want to be seen and understood and held, and all of the peace that can come with a harmonious relationship, which I know you know about. Can't wait to hear more about those updates too. But it was really an expansive experience for me, this one love that came into my life over the last couple years and that I did this dance with last year. And I woke up New Year's Day ready to almost grieve that that love was not there, but the overwhelming energy that I was opening to. And I should say, I basically do energy work every day. Like every day, sometimes it's, a couple minutes if that's all I can spare, but usually, and I love the word, you use the word luxuriate, I do as well. I sit in that field of energy, receiving and experiencing and moving and being with, sometimes for, an hour, roughly an hour a day. New Year's Day, I gave myself the whole day to just
Oh,
feel. It was crazy. And I was like, well, everyone else is cuddling their loved one. Like, I'm just going to cuddle myself. And I'm going to be in this field of all the love I've known and let myself really receive it, open to it. And instead of that grief process that I, in some ways, will come when I think about love I've lost or people I've lost, there's the grief aspect. There's the tinge of, gosh, I wish this was here in the 3D with me right now. But instead, I was able to feel that gush of it is available and it's here right now. So I can access it and just live that. So that was the start to my year. And I know that that's the place from which more beautiful, new aligned things can come in and find me, So yeah, that's kind of it. That was my edge. In a way, it was this part of me that might have chosen to move into sadness. And
yeah.
instead, it was like, let's move into receiving what is here and what is desperately like banging down your door. My candles were lit, my little Christmas lights were on, and all I wanted to do was be cozy and make myself soup and literally bask in that field for a day. And I understand not everyone can do a full day, but there's so much that can happen when you give yourself that time just to receive what is already available. So
Yeah.
that's kind of that's one thing. I mean, there's so many other updates, but that's one thing I want to share. And then I had your beautiful ceremony, which
Yeah.
was a continuation of that, soft, slow, clear, with Haley as a welcome to the new year with a beautiful group of women going in and being led further into that process. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm actually in a really receptive, and I know you talk about receptivity a lot. I'm in a really receptive zone. I'm also in a curious zone. There's a lot in the 3D that indeed hasn't quite like matched up yet with what I'm, expecting, wanting, calling in. And yet that's not where my energy is. My energy is in like what feels good and alive and abundant.
Totally. Totally.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you for sharing all of that. In that in itself is such an invitation and such a permission slip for all of us to luxuriate a little bit more. And yes, we might not have a full day, but
Yeah.
a couple days ago I was like, I could easily just have jumped ahead to the next thing. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna put on my red light and I'm gonna lie on the floor, and because I love lying on the floor. I feel like it's the best place to be.
Yes.
And unless you can be out, right? We're both Canadian. It is so freaking cold right now. I do lie in the snow, but not all the time. So
Yeah.
I was luxuriating. I gave myself 10 minutes. 10 minutes isn't a long time when you think about it, right? So most people are wasting 10 minutes away scrolling on their phone or doing whatever, God knows. I was like, I'm going to create a container of 10 minutes to lie on the floor, bask in this light, and that's it. I had spa music playing in the background, no other intention but to just be in nothingness and stare at the ceiling. That 10 minutes was a quantum leap in terms of my openness in every cell in my body, and my physiology fully shifted, my energetics shifted, I quantum leapt then in physical reality. The number of things that dropped in literally into my physical reality within that 10-minute time zone when I go check my phone after, it's like, whoa. So whether it's a day or 10 minutes, give yourself that gift right now. And that was I love that you mentioned my ceremony. That was a huge theme. And that's my vibe right now, is soft, slow, clear, because I am a very high level, high performing, high functioning person. And it's actually so easy for me to take action. It's like the easiest thing to be like, yeah, yeah, let's go, let's do this. Okay, yeah, like a million things at once. I'm like, yes, yes, yes. Like I'm a projector. I know what I'm here for. I can just like execute things really efficiently and quickly. So edgy for me is like luxuriating in less and doing less and basking and being. And that's what I've been really intentionally focusing on as we welcome 2025. It's been my vibe the last couple of weeks, ending out 2024. I was on the phone with Jenna, my sister, and we still haven't said how we know each other, so we're going to get to that
Yeah.
eventually. But I was on the phone with Jenna this morning, and I was just like, you know what? I realized yesterday I was having a hot tub and mastermind with my friend Danielle, who you also know, and I was I noticed in that moment as we were reflecting, I was like, oh, I've fully reflected on 2024. Like I have luxuriated, reflected, and basked in what my 2024 was. So I can like easily and purely move into 2025 with so much space. And that's something that I led in the ceremony, was this 2024 reflection. And if you haven't done that, do that. I can link my ceremony and check it out. But it's something that I think is such a gift when we actually retroactively look at who we've been, who we've become, edges, growth, all that. And I actually was realizing yesterday, oh, I did that. I'm done that. Like that's done. I'm fully embodied in the here and now with spaciousness to move forward because I gave myself that gift of time and space. And yeah, it's just feeling really good to welcome in a new year from a foundation of I am soft, slow, clear. I am present. I am open. So I love that we're both in this vibe. I think it's also important to mention Cailin and I both, like, yes, we're in the soft, slow, clear, receptive energy, and there are big moves being made always. Like balancing a big move with soft receptivity is something that I think we both just do so effortlessly. I'd love to hear some examples from you about like what that looked like in your life over the last couple months, let's say, like
Yes.
big moves, soft receptivity, because that is such a harmony that
Hmm.
really allows you to be this empowered creator in your life while also being a receiver and a surrendered, trusting like recipient of life as well. So
Mm.
talk to me about how that's been going over the last few months and what you foresee for this year that looking
Oh yeah, I'm so happy to do that. And also I did want to name, I love that you brought this up about your reflection practice from the year prior. You and I have talked about this before, but I know we are both people who really look back.
like.
Like really look back at their notes. I always joke like I'm very free flowing in lots of ways. I also yeah, have a lot of really refined project management strategies. I've worked in very like high-paced industry and all of this, we know. But so I have spreadsheets. I literally have spreadsheets, you guys. And it's so easy to look back. I make all my notes, my journals, my phone. I do some handwritten stuff too, but I do a lot in my phone. And the things that I track for myself, like it's just so easy then to look back. And I did it again yesterday before jumping on this call and was able to see what were the themes I was working with last year at this time.
Yeah.
What were the dreams I had? What was triggering me? What were the limiting beliefs that were coming up? Um, and what were the actions that I was taking? You know, all of it. And there were so many other categories, you guys. But I really track those things and I do them all the time. And most importantly, perhaps, what intuition was I receiving? And
Yeah.
looking back at that is always hilarious because you're like, oh yeah, I remember that spell of time when I kept getting this one image all the time. And it was like, okay, I know how to apply that in my life.
Mm.
But all to say, so I love that. And I love that you guided us to do that during the ceremony, to do it kind of on an energetic level, which we can do all the time, but also to do the very practical. What have I done? What is my list of accomplishments? What are the, and what are things that are still there? Like that's a really fun note, at least for me, is okay, what themes am I still? What have I
Yeah.
procrastinated on? Like, what have I pushed down the road thinking, okay, I'll do these other things. And honestly, in some ways, maybe that's a good segue, but my life, and I think I started sharing that earlier about creative expression, is that there are indeed aspects of my life that are so vital, important to me that I had put on the back burner. I always was clocking them, always aware, always writing about them. I write a lot, but I was like postponing the doing. And
Mhm.
Haley, I mean, I want to spend some time. I know we're going to speaking about the work that you do and the work that you have facilitated me through in my life, but huge leaps and bounds in our sessions together in terms of allowing me to prioritize those things and trust that all the other aspects of my life as well have built momentum towards
Yeah.
that kind of ultimate execution. But I do want to answer your question properly, which is
Big vision, big leaps, big moves, all that.
yes, yes. But this question about yeah, like how to be receptive. So I really went through a journey, and I think it's important for other people to know this too. Especially those of us that really we do spend a lot of our time in the energetic realms and we are engaged in this really refined process. There's still so much learning that happens in how to live it in a human way. At least there has been for me. And oh gosh, Haley, there's so many interesting synchronicities too, because I had some major stuff come through last year, as you did as well, in terms of the physical, in terms of stopping, like stops, like, oh, I'm being stopped by an event outside of my,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
design, so to speak. But of course we know we know better. We're calling in a lot of our experiences, right? So
yeah.
I all to say I was on a path of really calling in so much for myself. And I've often described these moments in my life as like when I've perceived that there's more for me than I'm actually embodying and actually living, I get really focused. I get really clear. And in particular, the last year I did, and I moved quite systematically to remove what was in the way. It was like, clear the limiting belief. I want to really be an actor now. I'm going for it. What has stopped me in the past from doing this? What is here now? How do I clear that so that I can be ready to receive that possibility? And it has at times felt like I'm pulling this vast field of potentiality through like the eye of a needle. Like it feels that precise. It's like, okay, I need to be that focused and refined to let this come to me. And admittedly, at times I've fallen into efforting. I've fallen into control. I've fallen into hustle. I've fallen into like strategy as a way to make things happen in my life. And indeed, I have done that with great success. I've had a great career. I've made a great income. I have bought several properties. There are things that I've done admittedly with a bit of that hustle as part of it. Having said that, at the time it felt good. But all to say, I've gotten to this point now, and over the last year, and you asked about the last few months in particular, there were so many moments last year where trying to pull in these new realities, allow womb consciousness as a business to really come through from an idea state into reality, growing my client base, starting programs, doing all of those things. And then with acting, bringing that in, going and seeking out incredible teachers, aligning with people who were there to support me on the journey, coaches, building my self tapes. And then I know I'm jumping all over the place, but our ceremony at the Lionsgate portal
Oh, always.
really kicked it off for me. I mean,
Always.
right,
Every
I'm
time.
jumping ahead, but we came out of that, and within a week, I had an agent.
Yes.
This is like a lifetime dream for me, and so all the steps that led up to it. But all to say, I can admit that the first 6 months of my year, as much as I was holding this vision, clearing, doing the energetics, getting in line to receive everything, holding the vision so strongly, no doubting, imposter syndrome gone, nothing more to prove to people. Even if these things never come to pass in the material, it doesn't matter because that's not what matters. What matters is that I know what I am and I know who I am. And I know that I'm an actor and I know that I have these gifts and this way of being, and it's just intrinsic. So all of that level of detachment, but also focus, somehow made it possible for these things to align, which was a truly incredible set of manifestations that came through this year. But what I want to share is that I did, in full truth, also really hit a wall. I really did burn myself out with certain aspects of how I approached it in the first half of my year. I worked really hard. I was continuing in an old career while building two new career paths. And while I like to say my third full-time job was really the energetics. Like
Mhm.
I left no stone unturned. I would
Yeah.
come back to myself every day. And I always say this, but like if things are triggering me, if I catch wind of a weird little limiting belief or somewhere I've placed a glass ceiling for myself, I take it really seriously. And if
Yeah.
I can't clear it myself, I call in the big guns. I go to you. I go to people in my life. I go to resource. I go where I can have like your energetic proficiency. And I know I want to share about specific things that happen in our sessions as well. I have some really good examples. But this is my answer to say that the second half of my year, I entered that receptive, slower pace that you're speaking about.
Yeah.
And I have to be honest though, like I would have kept going in some ways. Like I would have kept going with that doership. And I love you've mentioned that a few times for both of us as like people who really take action. It's comfy to take action. But I was in a car accident in the middle of the year at the solstice.
Mhm.
And I was in a job that was no longer aligned. And all the ways that I was trying to negotiate that, and I'm sure this resonates with people who are listening too, like when you know it's past due, but you're just like, yeah, but it's okay. I'll do it like this and I'll do it like this. And it's okay. I'll do less hours and I'll do this. And yet, every sign from the universe was like, you need to stop now. And I wasn't negotiating it. And then I was hit by a car driving.
Yeah. Stop.
And
Full stop.
full stop, full stop. But the angelic support around that particular incident, I could share about at length, maybe in another setting, but all to say, not only did it pull me from that trajectory that I was on, um, I was basically set up then for the rest of the year to be out of that realm of work and able to soften, heal,
Mhm.
be in flow with life again. And yeah, basically make room to receive new information as it came in. And that softening, yeah, in some ways was thrust upon me. And the other important thing that happened was I think I had really still been grappling with my trust, my level of how much I trust the universe and how much I trust my life, how much I trust myself. That's where that doership comes in, like that overdoing, that control, like, oh, I'll make it, I'll fix the thing, I'm going to fix the scenario, I'm going to work this in my favor. And instead of like, I went into full surrender mode. And
Yeah.
I had this fear that I wasn't in fact safe, that I wasn't in fact resourced in a fundamental way. And literally everything that surrounded the incident of that accident stepped in to show me just how supported I was, how resourced I was. And I remember declaring to a friend midway, because I was well underway of working with clients as well. I said, even if I have nothing else to share with other people, even if none of my big dreams ever come to fruition, if I can impart this sense of trust that I have tapped into, that I am worthy, that I am safe, that I am supported, that I am infinitely resourced, if I can impart that to others, that is enough of a gift itself. And in my life, it is indeed enough of a gift. And then the softening that happened since then, the amount of things that have indeed flowed in that material realm, it's astonishing. So yeah, I've been on quite a journey this year, but I took a long time to answer because there was a journey to get there to that receptive state. It
It,
wasn't my natural. Yeah.
I love so many things you shared, and one of the like highlighting a few things, you noticed where you were like accommodating what was expired. Like, let me accommodate this to this next level while I abandon myself of what I really need. So many of
Truly.
us do that. So
Yeah.
notice in your own life where you're doing that. You also highlighted such a, and you really shared such a nice journey with us of this doing energy that led you into a state of surrender, forced surrender. And I think so many of us, I know I had that this year. Many of you know my near death experience that I had in March of 2024 that changed my life. And like you said, Cailin, if nothing else, having that experience that some would describe, depending on their level of perception, as a horrible experience, for me, it was like the greatest gift by the grace of God I've ever experienced in my life to have a near death experience and be put on my ass in that way. It was the best. Like, I'm like, thank you. Like, wow. And as you're sharing the story, and for everyone listening, like, notice how healing and clarifying it is to tell your story and share your journey. Because as you're sharing your 2024, Cailin, you're getting clarity, you're noticing nodes, you're noticing edges, you're noticing what's gone and what's still here. And I find every time I do that, I notice the same. And the beautiful thing about working with a facilitator, and if you're someone who's curious about the womb work that Cailin does, having an experience being led in that journey of womb consciousness and being able to share your own journey and then learning and understanding how that attributes to your womb space is such a gift you can give yourself. I know that's the main thing I do when I take on a new client. I'm like, tell me your story, talk to me, because we can get so much information as facilitators through a story and practitioners, but the client themselves or the person sharing their story, the storyteller, they're getting so much clarity. So I wanted to just acknowledge that in the energy of soft, slow, clear, and the energy of womb consciousness, intuition, and the energy of 2025 and this new energy. It's like, look back, retroact. That's been so helpful for both of us. And I think at this point in our conversation, that is so crystal clear, like how important it is to look back and be like, oh my Lord. So
Yeah.
speaking of looking back, let's let the audience in on the magic of who we are and how we know each other. So Cailin and I are first cousins. Our moms are sisters.
Aw.
And our moms who were together yesterday at the
Yes, they were together yesterday at the
spot,
spot.
we were having a spa day. I was on my mom. I talked to my mom on the phone and my dad on the phone twice a day. Like, I'm just like, like they're calling me, I'm calling them. I was on the phone with my mom twice yesterday, and she was with my aunt Norma, who is Kaylin's mom. And our moms aren't just sisters. And believe me when I say they come from a big family. My mom was the youngest of 14. Norma, my aunt Norma, Kaylin's mom, was and is this embodiment of wisdom, patience, presence, and integrity.
Aw.
And she was like a mother figure to my mom in a lot of ways. And my mom would speak to that further. So Cailin and I have a bit of an age gap, but you're someone, Cailin, when we really got close probably over the last 5 to 10 years. But even when I think back to you as like a little child, and like when I'm looking at home videos and stuff, you're like, you're this leader. You are,
Oh,
and we've been talking a lot lately about being fifth lines, right?
mhm,
And shout out
mhm.
to my friend Amy Elizabeth, because
Thank
I,
you.
Amy, if you're listening, I had introduced Cailin to your work, and it's been very supportive.
It's
So
so helpful.
human
Yeah.
design stuff. But we've been talking about this whole fifth line leader energy. You've been a leader your whole life. You've been a you've been unfuckable. You've been like, here's who I am, come watch me, come see me. And like that essence of just,
Yes.
hey, I'm the party, let's go.
Aw.
That's who you are. And you get to share that with the world in a refined professional way as an actress and as a healer and an intuitive. And I just want to acknowledge and name that you're doing that. So I'm celebrating that. But as
Thank you
we've
so
gotten closer over the last years, you're someone who, me, you, and Jenna's my sister and Kaylin's cousin as well, and we're all besties. We kind of started this Lionsgate portal. We call ourselves the Lionesses around, I think it was 2020 or 2019, 2020, I think it was. So 5 years ago, which is crazy. And there was so much
much.
happening collectively that initiated everyone into retrospection and anchoring into who we really are and what's really important. And we started our little lioness ceremonies, and we would gather yearly on the Lionsgate portal in August 8th. And it's like we touch in this once a year in person in ceremony. And it was like profound. And if we couldn't be in person because Cailin was traveling or my sister was traveling or I was away, we'd be doing it virtually. We really had those anchor points over the last 5 years. As cousins, yes. As friends, yes. But I think what's been most powerful is as givers and receivers of wisdom. And I lead you and you lead me. And I feel extremely grateful to have you in my life, someone I can mastermind with, someone I can articulate. I'm a self-projected projector too, so it's extremely healing and clarifying for me to share and speak and channel to people who get it. And I just I just love seeing how much has changed. And I think it's easy to get caught up in like, oh my God, it's nothing's changed, nothing changed. When are my big dreams happening? But if we really take a minute to look back on when we started ceremonies 5 years ago to where we're at now, our lives are unrecognizable.
Mhm.
There are so many intangible, miraculous shifts that have occurred, from healing to identity to remembering to awakening, as well as physical manifestations from career changes, engagement. I have a dog now. I
Mhm.
have a dream career, best-selling author, all these amazing things that have occurred for me in my career. Starting my business, I didn't really have this business when we got started 5 years ago.
Yeah.
You starting your really leaning into acting, really moving all over the world, investments, buying a home, same as us. We bought a home, like lots of different physical things that in 2020, which is 5 years ago, and some people might be like, oh my God, that's such a long time. It's not. And it is. And so much has happened in those 5 years,
Yeah.
really intangibly. And I really like to speak to that. I'm a Taurus, and I'm also a big believer in like, let's manifest in the physical realm. So much has happened. And like we've touched on earlier, even if nothing changed physically, and me and Mitch were still living in our apartment in Waterloo. And where were you at the time in 2020? What was your like,
I was in the beaches in Toronto. Remember my
ooh,
little cottage, and you guys,
that
our first session was there. Hmm.
was powerful. And then we went down to
Yes.
the water, and we were like,
Yeah.
as usual, like we just did this past summer, we're like declaring our intentions to the
Yeah.
lake. And yeah, like
Yeah.
even if nothing has changed, the level of inner growth and the level of like, I know who I am, I love who I am, I've got me, I trust freedom. Like for me, the last some big themes for me have been personal freedom over the last many months, and realizing, yeah, I live a dream life. And I write this in my book, I might be living your dream life, doesn't mean I'm living my dream life, right? I live this life that someone would look in my windows and go, oh my God, I want her life. And yes, I'm obsessed with my life, but I still have this syndrome of it's not enough, it's not enough, there's more. And that's a blessing and a curse. But it's easy to be like, oh, nothing has changed. But when I really look, I'm like, oh my God, my entire life is upgraded and transformed on the physical front. And if nothing else, the personal freedom that I have realized and actualized over the last few months, it's the greatest gift on earth. I don't need anything else but to know that I am free. And that was initiated many times over the last 5 years, and it's been fully realized and actualized. And as an entrepreneur, creator, as a business owner, as someone who's living a free life, you can still entangle yourself in illusions of separation and illusions of limitation. And I was doing that all the time. So the greatest gift I've experienced is freedom over the last couple months. And
Right.
I've been working at that for a while, but
I
like,
see this for you, Haley. I so see you on that journey.
yeah,
I see you doing it. I see you constantly integrating new levels.
yeah,
Like
totally.
you're always on an edge. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
always on an edge. I just
Yeah.
got chills when you said that.
Yeah.
Another thing that, so we kind of got deviated from our little chat there about how we know each other, but we're cousins.
Yeah.
We're cousins, we're besties, we're soul sisters, we're practitioners to one another, we're
Yeah.
supports, and we really see each other. And there's always like a clean energy with us. And we were talking about this the other day of just this, there's never a neediness. It's just like, hey, I'm dropping in a voice note, listen to it when you get to it.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, come back, respond back and forth. It's really invitational and beautiful. But
Mhm.
I want to shout out our family real quick before we jump ahead
Mhm.
to like edges, because I got chills when you said that. I'd love to talk about edges. How are we for time? Oh my gosh, we've been talking for a while. We can't help
Let's
ourselves.
go. It's gonna be a
So,
six-part podcast, people.
yeah, like I just love this. But shout out to our family. So my mom, I call her the universe in human form. And many of you know my mom. She's a facilitator and owner and founder of Renewal Retreat, and we run amazing retreats there. But and she's a counselor and a therapist and a healer and everything, psychic, all the things. She's a universe in human form. I know she's been instrumental on your journey,
Yes.
and your mom
Yes.
has been instrumental on my journey as being a real embodied woman, an embodiment of
Yeah.
peace. Like I
Yeah.
feel like your mom is at peace with herself, and that is such a fucking win to
So
be at peace
powerful.
with yourself.
It's so powerful. I love that you're talking about both of our moms and just everything you've shared. I could comment on all of it, but Haley, yeah, no, we come from incredible people, from an incredible matrilineal line. We have an incredible grandmother. We have an incredible, huge family of talented, loving people. Like when our family gets together, I know you talk about this too, and you've probably on your podcast before, but we come from love. And it's funny, the more I've been in other scenarios in my life or other, I've been in a lot of community. I've lived in intentional community. I've enjoyed community that is non-family as well, non-birth family in this life. And I often encounter people and I realize the deficit. Like I realize how many people don't have that in their family of origin. And it's just one of those things we can touch into every now and again and be like, wow, there is indeed something quite special that has happened here. And I remember speaking about this with you last year too, but a lot of people really, I feel, chose this family because it's so loving. And when we're together, that's what we do. We share that vibration together. So it's been a huge gift, like growing up with our aunts and our uncles, and indeed our grandfather who passed away before we were born. Like there are so many incredible people. We could totally go on about that, but I love that you're naming, and our moms are very, very close as well. And yeah, Treese had been a huge gift to my life in terms of even since I was a very little child, being one of those people who would like remind me of things, like, kind of just point in this direction, like, have you considered this? And really, subtle, but it was always resonant. And so when I look back, like the level of teaching that I received just by listening to the guidance that came through Treese at different moments. And then as I grew, like as I grew up, the older I became, same goes for you. Like people in my life who were in struggle, I send them to my family. Like I'll be like, you need a session with Haley, you need a session with Therese. Like I want everyone to have access to this level of love. And it's just, I feel it come through me. And I think it's probably one of your gifts in the world as well. When you come from this, which is why it's interesting in some ways that even with all that love, you still have your journeys, you still have these things to go through. But at the core, I have a very strong, and you do too, lived experience. And in my womb consciousness work with others, I talk a lot about there's ancestral experience, there's collective experience. We can carry a lot within our womb space and also just within the field. Um, but it's that sometimes the lived experience is really where things are lacking. And when I look at mine and the life that I have led and the blessings and the privilege and the goodness that has been granted to me and to us being in our family, and in my family with my mom, my sister, and my dad. And so when you were speaking about the last 5 years as well, my father passed away 4 years ago, and it is still the biggest heartbreak experience of my life. And also, as I named what my New Year's Day was like, and just to explain a bit about him too, and I know you would say the same, like, and you always have, this is a very special person, and a deeply present, deeply loving person. That's who I grew up with. That's my dad. And I said this after he died, and maybe this is coming through to resonate for anyone who's lost someone they love dearly. Of course, I miss him in the material. I wish he was still here. I wish he was here for every chapter that's coming. I wish that for me. I wish that for him. I wish that for my family, for my mom, my sister, for all of us. But the truth is, my dad did not need to live a second longer than he did in body to have bestowed so much infinite love into this realm and into all of our lives. So his life was perfect. His journey was perfect. And I remember when that awareness came through, and it's the same, similar to how I was saying I felt on New Year's Day, and my father's passing was just before Christmas. So we've all just come through that portal, my family and I, of honoring him and feeling him and being with him. And he's always here. And I have this to say to anyone who's listening as well, whether you're freshly grieving someone or whether it's been some time, I can speak from lived experience that that relationship continues, and it continues in a new way. And the more energetically available you are to participate in that, the more you will experience it. And it's a gift. So that love goes on. And as I experienced on my New Year's Day, a similar thing happened on the anniversary of his death, which was I let myself grieve. I grieve whenever it comes. I miss him very much. And I love him very much. And I appreciate all the gifts he ever shared with me. And what tends to happen, and it certainly happened that day, was a flood of love arrives. And it's my choice. It's my choice to stay in the sorrow or to let that love pierce every cell in my body and become the field that I'm basking in. And I am that loved. We all are that loved. And again, I think it's so sweet that you took this time to speak about our family, and I could not bring him up in this conversation in this way. And what I want everyone to know, in fact, though, is that no matter what family of origin you come from, what lived experience you come from, that love is available to you. I really believe this. And in my darkest moments, I have always been able to reconnect to that love and that light. And it does feel like a good moment maybe to name as well so much of what has happened in ceremony with you, Haley, and in the times that I have sought you out. Because indeed in my life, those times have been the times where I didn't feel resourced myself. I had lost touch. So in my realm and my work, I I have journeyed deeply in the dark. I have journeyed deeply in realms that have challenged me, challenged my connection to that light. And when I don't have access to my clarity, that inner knowing, that inner power, which again is the foundational aspect of womb consciousness, it's connecting to the womb, through the womb, to that portal of infinite resource. But it's that inner knowing and power. And when I lose that, I take it very seriously. I reach out for help. I call in a coven. I call in my sisters. I call in you. I call in my aunts, my mom, my dad from the other side. I call in support. And there are moments, so many moments when I've come to you for session, but something keeps coming up to name in particular, which is through a particularly powerful experience I had of disentangling from an enmeshment that was not serving me. I remember calling on you, Haley, in particular, and I was like, listen, like, I am not able to hold this vibration of love right now. I know it exists. I know it's there, but I'm not connecting to it. And I need help. And I remember asking you, and I remember you would sit with me. I don't know if you remember these moments, but you would sit and I would be like, can you hold the vibration? And you would. And then I could match you and be in that field with you. And I just want to name, like, that is one of the gifts that we can do for each other. But again, a particularly skilled energetic practitioner like Haley, and facilitator and guide and intuitive and channel that she is, like, I trust you so much and I trust your clarity. And so just thank you, honestly, for all those moments where I have needed the extra support, and in my time of need, my time of darkness, my time of not quite being able to connect to that light. And my own journey has brought me deeper into, indeed, how do I resource that for myself? But it's always amazing to have someone like you on your team. So if you're even considering, you haven't yet worked with Haley, but you think you have something you could need, that extra rung of presence around you, um, yeah, don't hesitate, because it'll bring you to a level and then you're off. And I love that about working with you. It's very much about sending us off with our own resource. And that's the way I think we've worked together over many, many years.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a meandering set of thoughts. And again, deep gratitude to my dad, deep gratitude to my mom, to your mom, to our family, to our grandmother, like, to all of it. And to those of us that in this life are living with enough material resource to be able to dedicate time to these gifts that you have cultivated. And
Yeah.
also going way back, Haley, like, when we're talking back to the, we're talking like, our thoughts are meandering indeed, but
The best.
going back, but going back, you said, what has changed? I'm pretty sure, like, I remember being in that cottage in the beaches, and we were still doing personal training stuff together.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And I
was in
was
the personal
like,
training era.
yeah. To which I declared after my first session, I was like, Haley for president, like, you bring so much to whatever it is you're doing. I'm sure you remember me saying
I
that.
remember that and I loved that.
That level and more and better, quite frankly, than that. But even just like that level of, oh, so much presence that you brought to those practices we were doing together at that time. And I just loved working with you since then and forwards. And again, to name a bit about who you were as a child. Oh my goodness, like, you guys. And I love it because it's so cute to look back. Every once in a while, our moms will send us photos of us
It's
as
the
kids. Like,
best.
yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Um, I can't remember how many years we were apart, but yeah, you were a kid, like, and I was just like, that kid knows how to live. Like, you were just so joyful and abundant and connected. And indeed, Haley, and I know you say this too, and I want to echo it for anyone again who's interested in working with you, is that you really do embody it. You embody it. You live this day in, day out. And I know you have your fluctuations in a human way as well, but it's just so pure. It's so, and I just want to honor and praise you for that. And it's been that way since you were a kid, just fully in your power and fully in your joy. And it, like, uplift. There's no better
Yeah. Uplift lifestyle.
word. It continues to be the absolute appropriate brand for everything you bring forward. I admire it so much. I admired you then. Like, I was looking back and taking cues, and to this day, the same is happening. So yeah,
Wow.
thanks for being such a leader in my life, you know. And indeed, you said that about me, that I can say the same, everything back to you. But yeah, what a pleasure. And what a pleasure that we get to witness each other and yeah, be there for each other and support. And again, so many powerful sessions with you. I want to name one other thing because I know we're going to go in other directions too. But like in a session with Haley, so I'm a very sensitive, um, very intuitive person as well. Very in touch with my body, very in touch with my knowing, very in touch with energetics in my own body and in others. So one of the fun things about working with Haley is that, and I don't know if I've ever even really shared this exactly, because when we're in session, we're in it. It's not like, it's not as chatty as we are right now, for example. But when we're together, there's so much satisfaction in the way that I would be like feeling something, you know, I've got something over here in like the right quadrant of my heart or something, and I can feel this tension and this note. And then, you know, you're like, okay, so there's something here in the right, you know, quadrant of your heart. And I'm like, yes, exactly. Like it's that level of refinement to which Haley is able to attune to what's going on in you. And it's just so clear. It's so clear. And I've worked with a lot of practitioners of different modalities, and it is indeed something very special that you bring when you enter into a session. And no two sessions are the same. None of ours have ever been the same. There's no formula there. It's you bringing all of your gifts to bear to support, as you said earlier, freedom. I say this word often too, liberation. It becomes more and more important. You help in the clearing. And I remember one particular experience where I had to open my eyes. We were sitting, it was a Zoom call, or maybe it even been just the phone. And I was sitting and I started to feel so nauseous. I was spinning, and this will happen sometimes in energy sessions of different types as well. But I was spinning, and it was like I was spinning so fast, I thought I might throw up. And I remember you just being like, "You're really spinning like a dancer, you're like a ballerina right now." Like, and you were just like, things are flying off you. And I'm like, okay, great, let them go because this is a lot. But I remember in that moment opening my eyes to just, you know, double check, like, am
Yeah.
I spinning in the room right now? Like, what is happening? And that's the level, like, that's the level you're invited to in your present, just by whatever, just by your gifts, just by the true energetic field that we can create when we're sitting with someone like yourself. So yeah, just wanted to name that specific example. And I'm so happy to share more too. If there's other things that you remember from our sessions as being particularly potent that you want to share about that could help anyone else, because it's just really powerful work. I'm really grateful for it. Yeah, thank you.
You, thank you for naming all of that beauty. And it also speaks to your level of openness and your level, and many people in my world know this. I work with very high level women. So to be such a devoted client in that way, it speaks to who you are and the level you're on. And your willingness, like you said, if you notice a node, if you notice something that's not it, being like, I'm calling in the big leagues, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's cut and release. And it is expeditious. And I've been trained at this for years to do it. It is expeditious because at the core of, like you said, when I'm a little kid, it's just joy, it's just love, it's just abundance. So anything that's not that is not real, is not true. So let's not entertain it for a moment. But
Yes, Bailey. And you hold that standard so well in a way that I think actually, and I've thought this many times, I don't really know anyone else in my life who does.
wow.
Like I can say that. And I'll remember that. Like there's times where I'll just remember. I'm like, Haley's holding that down. You know, it's real. Like someone out there is, you know, but the consistency with which you do. Yeah, and that's why again, there's times where I will, yeah, reach out for a session. There's other times where I'll literally just be like driving or something. I'll be like, let's just listen to like a couple minutes of Haley's podcast, you know, just like tune back in. And I'm sure everyone who's experiencing listening to maybe hopefully us now, but in all of your body of work that you've put out there, Haley, that you've so generously put out there. And I just want to name, like, there's so obviously you and I could literally do a series of things, but I just want to name the way you've supported me in business as well. And something's coming through to share, which is this person is here to assist truly. I remember talking to you about, you know, how to share on social media, which I'm very new to. All of the things I've jumped through so many.
Everyone can follow her because
Follow
you
me.
generously giving so much right now on social media. And plug your, we'll tag it in the show notes, but plug your handle right now so people can follow.
Okay, well, yeah, it's at womb consciousness. Womb consciousness. That's it. But that's what I guess I wanted to say to you is before I began any of that journey, and I remember where I'm standing. I often remember where I'm standing when I have conversations. I was in Santa Monica. I was living in California at the time, LA last year. And I just remember having this great chat with you where, you spoke about how to bring your gifts forward. And in one particular node was I I'm not here to gatekeep. I'm
Yeah.
not here to gatekeep information.
Oh,
And just like that level of integrity in terms of when something's for you, and I can save my own journey, my own deep healing journeys that I've been through, and they have been deep, they have been thorough. Those are like conversations for another day almost, but those journeys, they have definitely equipped me with knowledge, wisdom,
mhm,
and capacity and ability and guidance that I want to share with others who are in similar positions. And I
mhm.
know the same is true of you. Like, it's what comes to you. First, you use it for yourself. You're like, oh, this is part of my healing journey. Then, once you really understand it, believe it, know it, trust it, then the doors open wide. And of course, it needs to be shared
Yeah.
with others.
I love that you're naming this because in order to when we know that we are the source of everything, when we know that we are infinite abundance, love, power, opportunity, health, wellness, anything, joy, when we are the source of it and we no longer subscribe or feed any energy to any illusion of separation, why would we gatekeep? Because
Yeah.
this the source is us. So it's not like everyone listening to my podcast. Obviously, I'd love if everyone here was a one-on-one client with me, a one-on-one client with Cailin. Yes, please. Thank you. More, please. We would love that.
Yeah.
And we're here to serve. And everyone listening isn't the source of my abundance. I am the source of my abundance. So yeah, I love sharing it. I love that you're naming it, that I am such a person of service. I do obviously have incredible standards for my life. And there are ways that I really honor that through my work and through my life's work. And giving, giving, giving is the vibe. And again, back to our family, we can't stop. They are the source of that. And I want to celebrate your heart openness. Speaking of your dad, my
Yeah.
Uncle Joe,
Yeah.
and the lightness that is available now. It was beautiful to talk on more family. I was with your beautiful sister
Yeah.
just after Christmas, and Anne as well is a astrological, witchy, brilliant healer in the
Just
world.
healer. Yeah. Yeah.
And she was speaking to a little bit of what you just shared around this lightness that you're all noticing right now. And
Yeah.
thank you, Joe, for shining that lightness on all of us.
Yeah.
And there are times when I connect to Joe's spirit as well. Definitely in session with you, he's right there. But
Mm.
every time I see an owl, my mom and dad kind of have like a spirit sign of Joe that's an owl. So if I see
Yeah.
an owl, I'm like, Joe's here. And and on the family topic, like my father, Jim, my dad, Jim, he has been able to step up for your family, the women in your family. And I know you're away a lot, so you might not be so aware of it, but
No, I'm aware.
he
Yeah.
does it in honor of Joe.
I know. I know.
It's
I
so
remember, oh my gosh, I remember a moment oh gosh, there's so many stories here. I was leaving, we were leaving literally the cemetery the day that we buried my dad, which was the winter solstice
Mhm.
in 2020.
Yep.
And your mom and dad walked away with me on either side, and Jim and Treese. And, you know, there is so much magic around the portal of his passing and everything that came through and the support that came through that is just held in this halo of love. But I remember they both said to me in this way, and I don't remember the specifics they would have said, the words, but they both just let me know that I could go and do what I needed to do in the world and that they would take care of my mom.
Mhm.
And it's like, and I've seen that every time I've come home since, and I see it, and I know it, and I know it's been happening. And but like that level of love, that level of willingness to step up, and they have their own beautiful relationship. It's not, I don't think there was like a, there was no effort. I think when I've shared this with them both and thanked them, it's like they don't even know what I'm talking about. They're just like, we're doing what we do. Like,
We're
but it meant so much to me, and it freed me up to
yeah.
ultimately set out on an adventure, in fact, that I needed desperately to go on. And I had been talking to my dad about it even in the month before he passed, and my family. And anyways, all to say, yes, the role that both your parents, but your dad in particular, being there, cutting down the wood, like cutting down the trees in the forest, like doing the things that my dad would have done, and their bond. And yeah, so I thank your parents all the time. And let's do it here now too. Yet again, I'm so grateful. And to all of you, and just all of us, like the gift of family and the way that they have supported each other throughout their lives, and I can feel that same thing happening again in our generation. This just flow of mutual love and support, this willingness to be there. So yeah,
I want to
big
celebrate.
thank
I want to
you.
celebrate your ability to be someone who's lost their father and still able to hold the capacity of love and admiration for another father.
Oh my
And
goodness. Yeah.
I think that we can segue a little bit into some womb conversation now. And even though it's all been that the whole time, let's not kid ourselves. But this ability to hold an expanded
Yeah.
reality
Yeah.
at the same time, such heartbroken grief for your loss of your father in the physical plane, and an
Mhm.
expanded awareness of his everythingness and everywhereness all at once.
So well put. Yeah.
Be able to celebrate me and my sister and the way you are in our life and the way we are in your life, and not have any, oh, must be nice you still have your parents, like, so. And I know you would never do that, but it's an
Oh,
easy it is an easy path to take the path.
to harden around the pain. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I can't hear you anymore.
You can't hear me?
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I have to move location because we've been chatting. I was like, I gotta plug my computer in.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, just just love, 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 expansion, the way you move through life. And my sister and I were talking about this actually this morning, and I'd love to name my sister really quickly, just as such a gifted creator in the world
Yeah,
who
truly.
exudes beauty and magnetism. My
Mhm.
sister Jenna Rose, musician, artist, everything. But we were talking this morning about one of our other cousins, Ryan O'Reilly, a professional
Oh,
hockey,
yeah. Yeah.
and she's like, "Yeah, I need to just like get in my lane more and like do what I need to do." Like Snook,
Yeah.
we call him Snook. Snook can't be at every family event. Like he's fucking in the NHL playing hockey. Like I can't be spreading myself all these things. And that was just a tiny clip of our conversation, but this ability to go all in on your life.
Yes. Oh,
And
I'm so glad that you mentioned him as well.
yeah,
And Cal, your beautiful interview with Cal,
yes.
which I bawled my eyes out through, by the way.
Oh my God,
Like,
everyone said that. Yeah, go listen
like
to
Haley,
my
even if
other
you do a
professional.
series of cousins, like people will be ready for it.
We're having everyone on. I'd love to have Chantal. I want to name Chantal and her
Yeah.
motherhood journey. Like we have so many. There's all these like our cousins, our crew is amazing.
A
Um,
solid crew.
but
Yeah.
yeah, just like let's go into the womb conversation around trust, intuition. I'd love if you shared a little bit also about this program that you have going on right now and invited our community into that because it's such a generous offering.
Yeah.
And this energy of like going all in on your life, and let 2025 be the year that you take your life back. And when
Practice.
you know that you're the source of it all, and that you get to pave the path and you get to go all in on a life by your own design. And whether your family and friends are right there supporting you right off the bat, or maybe it takes them a bit of time, who cares? Go all in right now, stay
Yeah.
in your lane, and when we are able and we have the resources and the tools to connect to our body, which is free, we have our body right now.
Yeah.
How can we go all in on our life and really seize 2025 through our womb space, through that trust, that intuition, that knowing from our body portal? Can you
Mhm.
speak to that? And can you invite us into your offerings around that?
Yeah, totally. I'd love to. So, yeah, so many things. I love that you mentioned earlier. So, from a shamanic perspective, what you mentioned around heart.
Mhm.
So, we talk a lot about what happens at the level of mind consciousness. That's our thinking, planning, strategizing, executing. And we indeed live in a really like mind dominant culture. It's just the way it's gone. And then we have
I've had to pause you. Keep
hey,
going.
no worries. Okay,
You were frozen. So you were saying we
yeah,
have
yeah,
our mind and then
yeah,
get into the next.
yeah. So there's what happens up at the mind, and then at the heart, we have our feeling, our emotional aspects. And in the teachings that were handed down to me, the way it's understood is that the heart actually has capacity, the heart can break. And so much we process and filter through the heart. And it's funny, colloquially, casually, we do talk about being heart centered, and it's a beautiful thing indeed. And there's actually a deeper portal of connectedness that exists within the body of a woman, which is the womb. And then yeah, and in some ways it's interesting because I think there's a reason we talk about the heart in culture is because everybody has a heart. Not everybody has a womb. So there's a bit of a difference there. And so it's not what's been exalted in recent cultural phenomena. So it's really important to restore this site in the body. So these are like energetic sites we're talking about. So if you think about what the womb is and the role that it performs in a body, in a life, this is the site in a woman's body where the spark of life from spirit realm, this magical process, that's where this happens. That's where we come into material being through the body of a woman. We all did it. We all did it. And so when you tune into the energetics of that space, that is a portal of creation, first and foremost. And it is also a vessel, it is a channel. And so when you start to allow yourself to really go here, and again, as I bring up these differentiations, and often when I'm in first session with someone, we really spend a little bit of time in the mind. We're pretty familiar with the consciousness of the mind. Oh, I definitely know how my heart feels. Here's what's making me sad right now. And here's what I'm grieving. And here's this thing from my childhood that still holds charge. And, so we can do clearing at that level. But it's when we get to the womb that we actually have this access to this infinite, and I always talk about it as being inner, infinite, inherent, intrinsic access to resource.
Yeah.
And this is the way through. This is the way we get there. It's one of the ways, and there's so many ways, but it's such a powerful one. So it's like, if you have access, let's go. Let's explore here. And when these practices came into my life, it was interesting. I was actually on the verge of going to study counseling psychology, doing my master's. And something kept pulling me in this other direction. And it was like, just go here for a bit, and, you're probably not mainstream enough for that anyways. Like, you're going to start doing energy work on people and whatever. And I love every modality, just to be very clear. I love them all. They all have their place. It is like the diversity that exists in the material realm. I'm here for it. These are the teachings that have come to me and resonated with me. And what I notice is that every woman I sit with, no matter what other things she's exploring, and I think it's worth naming this, that no matter what you're up to, no matter what you're exploring, what other work you're doing with other practitioners or facilitators, this will support you in that.
Yes.
And it supports you because it brings you into deeper relationship with yourself and with that infinite resource. That makes you more available. Like, as you named, the way I come to session with you is like really ready to go. And it's because I have all of this access already, and I have
Yeah.
person. So that's the gift. And I know it's the gift that that comes through session with you as well is that once you have that embodied understanding of that really powerful, energetic experience of being in that expanded field of reality, which people get to through meditation, through different traditions of meditation, through different Eastern philosophies. Like there's so many ways. But once you get there and you're in that expanded field, it leaves an imprint with you. And so
Yeah.
the work I'm actually doing right now, with this incredible group of women, we started on Saturday and it's not too late to join. So I'm really hoping people from your community will want
Yes.
to,
Yes.
excuse me, come forward. Yeah, so we'll get all the links for you.
Link
But
in
it's called,
bio, link in show notes.
yeah, yes, exactly. And it's called the womb connection journey. And it is named that really because it's the fundamental. It's like we're going in, we're forging that connection. And then indeed, there are some pillars I like to explore with people. So week by week, we'll explore intuition, which is that inner knowing, really dialing it, really dialing, listening to the language. Like, what is my clairvoyance? Do I hear things? Do I see things? Do I sense things? Do I feel things? Do I claircognizantly just understand things? But it's all through this doorway of the womb.
Yeah.
And then the next piece is moving into healing. And this one is really important. And it's also, I think, what maybe dominates the space when people talk about womb work or womb sessions. It's really this healing and clearing what might have accumulated in the body of a woman. And this is where lived experience, like I mentioned before, might come into play. And this means experience such as trauma, such as sexual trauma, medical trauma, trauma that is ancestral, inherited, and also the traumas of the collective. When we understand that we are these sensitive, empathic beings, we hold so much within our soma, within our bodies, within our wombs, within our hearts. And so the womb is actually often a place where we store and hold information and experience that needs to be cleared in
Yeah.
order for us to be that clear, open vessel and channel. So a
Yeah.
lot of my work, a lot of my, when I was in my training, was really around that. And incredible, even when you think you're done, you think you've done and you've got that last little refined bit, you start to explore a little bit more and, oh, in fact, there's a new layer that actually wants to be cleared here. And this can also look like limiting beliefs. It can look like anything, as you said earlier so beautifully, anything that's in the way, anything that's in the way that's blocking you from that true state of like love and abundance and expanded joy that we have as kids, that we had as kids, and hopefully we all got to have as kids. And even if we didn't, though, it's here for you anyways.
Yeah.
But so really that healing week is so important. And indeed, that's the part that often a one-on-one session might also be more supportive. But in the group container, we can do so much because we're identifying, we've already gone in with our own level of skill around identifying, and we build that technique together. And then it's that clearing. It's really that clearing. It's letting it go, thanking it, transmuting it. It can look like alchemizing it. It can look like integrating it. It can be shadow. It's all of the things. It's inner child. It's however people want to describe it. So much can come up in that space, in that week of journey. And then we move into manifestation because that's when we're clear. It's like, let's go. Okay, we've got a clear portal. We're a clear vessel. What do we want to call in? And again, this can be thought of in metaphorical ways, or you can be really doing it in a way that's attuned and aligned with the energetics of your own body. And as women, that's just a gift we have. It's not exclusive to women. Everyone can do this level of process. But so that's week 3. And there's a really beautiful womb specific process around manifestation that I like to guide people through. And it's dream birthing. In the shamanic tradition, it's called dream birthing. And it's very powerful and very surprising. And it departs a little bit from some of the other techniques that are out there, which I also love, by the way.
Wow.
And then we've got the final week is power. And I've named it power. And this is in some ways really just tying it all together. It's what is it to stand in your power, stand in your sovereignty, stand relationally in a way that is not indentured. There's not karmic ties or codependence or need and transactional quality. You're no longer looking to the external world to validate or justify what you know to be true. And this is really a juicy place to land. And it's simple and it's subtle and it's everything. And that's why I say this really, it's almost a foundational. Like I want everyone to have these techniques and this way of relating and this way of knowing, oh, I can drop in, oh, I'm in my mind, oh, I'm in my heart. I can drop to my womb, I can get to this place, I'm dialed, and then I can go and engage with whatever else the world is invitationally asking me to engage with, but I'm fully present for it. And that's, I think, the sneaky gift of it all. So I really see it as a foundational practice that can support people in whatever they're doing, whatever phase of life and
Yes.
whatever career, whatever work, whatever personal relationship with children. But
Yeah.
ultimately, it's about relationship to yourself and really being so dialed in terms of this is coming through. This is what I know to be true. And like you said, and like Jenna's observation, and it's funny, I've often thought about our cousins. I think about people, and I love that your work focuses on this as well, that athlete mindset, like that, like what must have to happen in the being of an athlete to go for these incredible spikes of experience with so much presence and focus and self-belief. And
Yeah.
so all of that is part of what, yeah, I like to support people in getting to. So that's a bit of a description.
That's
Thank
amazing.
you for asking.
That
Yes.
is amazing. I'm gonna link the link to join your website, everything that would be a resource to our community because it is so, like you said, it's simple, but it is also quite niche and there is a specific journey to take you there. And Cailin is trained, as you can hear and feel and sense, to take you on that journey.
Yeah. And it's
Powerful.
such a pleasure. Like it honestly is. And every woman I've worked with, I can say this. I love being able to say this. Maybe it'll change one day. But so far, every woman I've worked with has been able to access this.
Hmm.
Like it's not, it
Yeah,
doesn't take long. It's like, zip, and I'm pretty sure you could say the same with your clients. It's like,
it's right there.
and I love it. I love this about your work as well. And you've always brought this forward. I think it's really important to name right now too, because those of us that are in a healing journey, there is a quality to what we do to support ourselves that I just want us to remember it can be expedient.
Yeah.
It can be it's like you are such a hero, a champion of that way of talking about it, of being healed. I remember you saying that in one of our sessions, healed. Like
Yeah.
let it be your past tense. Let release the story of that. You don't have to. Yes, you can. You can continue your lifetime working this one node in whatever way you like, in a therapy session or over here or in playing out in your relationships. You can do that. That choice is yours. You can do that for lifetimes, or you can deal with it right now. And that's what I love about working with you, Haley, is like your belief and knowing about the quantum.
Yeah.
I would say you're the first person who ever really introduced that, maybe that word even in that way to me and like working in that way. And indeed, I bring that forward into my work too. It's like, let's go, and with gentle truth. There's no rushing, there's no bypassing. It's not what I'm talking about. We're talking about expediency when the thing is ready to be moved. And I've benefited so much from your approach in that way. So I wanted to name that.
Wow. Thank you for naming that. Yeah, people will say 10 years of therapy is like one session with me. It's expedient.
And it's
And
like the choice is yours. You can do
yeah,
it.
do what you want. Do it both if you want. Like, but do what feels right. And like you said it, when you're speaking about this womb consciousness work, it's having access, infinite, instant access to like the universe speaking to you, like to a whisper of like, here's what you should do. Having that instant access to that intuition and wisdom that doesn't feel, here's the thing about the womb, it doesn't feel like fleety or flighty or like, oh, I need to confirm it with a sign or I need to
That's right.
with, let me talk it out. It's like, I have it right here.
Oh, thank you for saying that. Yes, it's so funny. One of the sentences that always seems to come up in session is it's really this feeling of like, I've got thisness. I'm gonna make a new word in the same way you've got
Yeah.
unfuck with I've got thisness. It's like that level of solidity.
Yeah. And that's us. We
Yeah,
have
that is our nature. Yeah.
that in our system, in our body by design. In the
Yeah.
image of God, we are one. We are connected. That is us.
Yeah.
I think this is a really beautiful way to wrap up. I'd love to, like we started, just looking at your beautiful face and your beautiful space and the way that I also love to name this for anyone who's thinking about working with Cailin. The way you create a ceremonial experience is extremely rare and extremely helpful. And I know you do that for your one-on-one clients, and I know you do it for the group journeys that you take your clients on. And you can kind of tell just by looking at her sweet little space with the little plants and the lights. It's like cozy, safe, ceremonial. It's so important as you journey through the womb. So I just wanted to name that as well. I also want to name before we close our eyes and connect again to close this out. One thing that and I don't think I've mentioned it on this, but when I get updates from Cailin, like, because we go back and forth, and yeah, sometimes you are updating me for support, but what I'm getting is so much value hearing and literally just watching and witnessing someone who is all in, 10 fingers, 10 toes, full body into life. And that's who you are. And I think the timing of you now being ready to give and serve as a facilitator in this way is so right on time, because it's like you've been there, you've done it. Like, I genuinely think you're someone who has fully immersed yourself into life. And when I'm getting your updates, I'm like, this is like, where's the popcorn? Where is the popcorn? This is so your language, your descriptions, the textures, the energy, everything you describe when you're telling me stories about your own life, I find it so confirming and validating, and entertaining is not the right word, but like experiential. I'm like, she's living, like you're living. So I wanted to name that as well. Yes, you're a gifted healer and you're going to take clients on a journey. But even if you're not someone who has those resources maybe to invest right now, just go follow her on Instagram and watch her live. And I know you're working on just popping off a little bit more too and being seen more and showing up more fully. That's
Starting
that is the gift, to just show us the way and show us you. And everyone who is listening here today, whether they work with you or not, and I hope they do, they have been given a gift to just witness and hear your story and your life. So I appreciate you being a fearless, brave embodiment of life and living. So thank you for your aliveness and for living it. And thank you for being here on the show and sharing this time and space. I love you.
so much, Haley. Oh my gosh, what an outro. I want to do one for you too, but we'll save it.
Okay. You've done enough. I have
I like honestly everything I could say. Honestly, Haley. And just on the theme of like being just so excited to hear your own evolution and all the things that have happened for you this year. Like just so beautiful Haley, to see you like being fully honored and fully in like right relation. You're receiving on a level only bigger and more for you. Yeah. And so same for you. When I hear your updates, it's just like, yep,
yeah,
this
thank
is
you more.
exactly, yeah.
It's so good. And I appreciate everyone for listening and for experiencing with us. And I trust and know that as we are sharing these fun stories and you're on the behind the scenes, I trust and know that you're locking in and encoding wisdom and information, and it's being integrated. And you can re-listen as many times as you need. It's all within you. Start living this way now, 2025. Let's go. Let's fucking go. It's beautiful. So, hand over heart, big inhale, hold it in, and release. Thank you for being here. I love you. I love you. I love you.
Love
I
you
love
so much. Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.